It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 28th day of December, 2021. Today is National Call a Friend Day. So if you have somebody from back in the day, maybe somebody you went to school with, or somebody who was friends early in your life that you haven't talked to them for a while, or you're not even sure if they're still around or any of those things, try calling one or, texting or emailing or do something. Just try to make contact with the friend. I thought this was lovely. It's better than something to eat day. But National Call a Friend Day. All right, we do have some cruise ships sailing from North American ports today. Not many, but a couple. From Charleston, we've got the American Cruise Line's Independence sails. Port Canaveral, Mariner of the Seas. Down in Fort Lauderdale, that would be Port Everglades, the Sky Princess sails, and from Miami, Carnival Sunrise sails. Today's headlines. We got a little news from Hawaii. How about that? Testing change at Royal Caribbean. Allure of the Seas denied entry at St. Thomas. Puerto Rico testing protocols. Troubling report from Jewel of the Seas, Cunard and P&O now require boosters, and lots more here this morning live at 11 o'clock. All right, this is several people have asked me yesterday. I made mention yesterday during the show that we now have a podcast on my channel and how to access it. There are several ways. Now, admittedly, at some point in time, and it takes some time for this all to propagate, and this is over my head technically, but all the places that you listen to normal podcasts, you'll be able to listen to Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast. Okay? So whether it's Spotify or Amazon or Google, all of them have a podcast. Apple, they all have, platforms. You'll be able to get it on all of them, but it takes some time for that to propagate. So in the meantime, the easiest way to do it is you can access my blog. Now, I'm going to be posting the podcast on my blog each day, whether it's accessibility issues or not. There's also a tab on there that you can just go to the tab, click on it, and it'll take you to the podcast page, and that will have the dates, and then you can click on that and play that way. Okay, so that's accessadventure.net. That's my accessible blog, and so you can access it that way. Or you can go to the Megaphone, that's the platform, the Megaphone page for Travel Cruise News. All right. Those links will be in the description of today's videos and will be there for several days for those of you till you get used to that. Those of you that want to listen to the podcast. I know Hot Air Tom at times has done all kinds of crazy things just to listen. This might be something right up his alley when they're out and about traveling. He'll be able to get it in all sorts of ways now. So anyway, but those links will always be in the description of this video and the description of the podcast. So you can cross-reference it that way. Now, I mentioned that we had some news from Miami. I heard from Amy this morning, and I don't know if she's over. I see she's also in the chat room. She may have mentioned this already, but in case you're not in the chat room, I may be going to Hawaii after all, Amy said to me earlier today. Carnival notified us yesterday that they strongly recommended that we get the booster shot now immediately because Hawaii may require it. Amy and her sister have already gotten there, so it's no issue from them. But this may be the only way cruise passengers are allowed into Hawaii right now. So that's a good little bit of information. And I know that's the first positive sign that I've seen that, maybe Amy's going to get to go to Hawaii after all. Because that didn't look that way for a long time. All right, guys, we'll be back with today's news right after this. And back to the news. According to Sarah Bretz over Cruise Radio, that's one of our buddies over there, Royal Caribbean International will stop offering onboard COVID tests for international travelers starting January the 5th. The option was convenient for non-United States guests traveling from countries that require a negative test result to return back home. Though onboard testing won't be available anymore, international guests will still have the option to take a test in the cruise terminal after disembarking the ship. For sailings from January 5th to January 31st, testing will be offered in the terminal through Royal Caribbean's test provider partners. The cost will be covered by the cruise line. Both PCR and antigen swab and go tests will be offered with results emailed to the guests within an hour of testing. For cruises on or after February 1st, the same terminal testing will be available, but the cost will be out of your pocket, folks. The price varies depending on the port, with antigen tests starting at $105, PCR tests starting at $210. Wow. Both types of tests have the results emailed within an hour. Instruction on how to schedule an appointment for post-cruise terminal tests will be provided once you are on the ship. All right, jumping over in the chat room real quickly just to see who's here today. All right, now before we get back to some more news, we got several stories this morning. Let's see. Carol's here. Elizabeth here down in Cozumel. And some of you might have noticed the screenshot when the show started today. Those of you, of course, aren't on the podcast because you can't see because that's all audio. But if you were on the video side of things, the screenshot was one of Elizabeth's lovely scenes from Cozumel. Jack's with us down in Conroe, Texas, 74 degrees and partly sunny. That's good. Sounds good. I mentioned Amy's with us. Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy, 75 degrees in Tampa. Katie's here. Back on land. Katie's home from her cruise. I'm glad to have Katie had some nice luck. And she said, sorry she missed Elizabeth. That's too bad. Jason's with us. And he says, happy birthday to Cindy. Yes, Cindy's had a birthday yesterday. I think it was. It was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we do wish Cindy a happy birthday. She had dinner at a lovely restaurant in Tampa that I even sent her a text to find out how close it was to the Tampa cruise port because I'm going to be going out of Tampa one of my cruises later on. But it's a little bit too far away. Of course, she said there's all kinds of neat places to eat much closer. So Elizabeth says, just saw the P&O and Cunard are requiring the booster. Yes, that's correct. That's one of my stories here this morning. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth, you're beating me to the punch. Jason says he bets that other cruise line starts handling that as well. I think you're absolutely correct. All right. Yesterday, Allure of the Seas was denied entry to, actually, day before yesterday, Allure of the Seas was denied entry to St. Thomas, and the scheduled call at St. Kitts never took place. While Royal Caribbean has so far not made any statements on the number of cases on board, other vessels sailing in the area have had the same situation happen to them, where the ports just cancel a visit. In most cases, there's been around 50 cases on board, or less than 1% of the people identified as positive. That 1% thing, folks, you're going to find that seems to be going through everything as some kind of a rule, although there's nothing been said about that other than the CDC. We do know that they have said that it's less than 1%. They don't do anything. It's over 1%, they take action. All right, the CDC is investigating the recent increase in COVID cases identified on Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas. CDC spokesperson David Daigle told USA Today yesterday that all cases appear to be mild or asymptomatic. Additionally, there have been no COVID-related hospitalizations, medical evacuations, ventilator use, or deaths from that ship. Cruise ships with a call in Puerto Rico scheduled will be unlikely to dock in the capital for the next week. The local government implemented strict entry requirements that will be making it near impossible for the ships to comply. The island has implemented a new rule which states that all passengers and crew members who wish to disembark in Puerto Rico must have a negative result of a viral test, molecular or antigen, performed within 48 hours of disembarking in Puerto Rico. The first ship that fell victim to the sudden change in rules was Symphony of the Seas, the world's largest cruise ship operated by Royal Caribbean. See, folks, there's a thread through all this stuff. The vessel was denied entry into Puerto Rico this morning as the government implemented the rules only the day before. There was no time to react. The vessel sailed past Puerto Rico and has since made a course to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and probably the next port of call will be St. Maarten. Now, the new rule change from the Department of Health will bring some significant problems for cruise lines sailing from San Juan, especially the ships sailing to the islands this next week. One, they don't carry testing on board to test the whole ship on short notice. They'll need to implement ship-wide testing to make a call in San Juan, something that is not likely to happen or even possible. Unless cruise ships can find a way around the new protocols, cruising to San Juan could be a long way away. So, folks, there's another one that we're probably going to start seeing all kinds of cancellations stopping at San Juan. Similar such situation to Grand Cayman Islands. You know, they implemented a 24-hour window. Well, that's impossible. Other ships that have been affected with the recent port of call cancellations include Odyssey, which we said, which only saw 78% of the total number of guests and crew positive, was denied into the ABC Islands. One of the Carnival ships, less than 1%, was denied into the ABC Islands. Holland America's Koningsdam canceled a call in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with authorities denied passengers permission to disembark. So far, all the ships that have seen positive cases on board have communicated that the cases were either asymptomatic or very light symptoms. Concerning the three ships that have been in the mainstream media's news reporting, Koningsdam in San Diego, Carnival Freedom in Miami, and Odyssey of the Seas from Fort Lauderdale. Now, the mainstream media has been blowing a gasket over these three ships for over a week now. That it's on, especially CNN, it's constantly on their reports. But the bottom line of what actually happened, folks, the part that they're not telling the rest of the world is that the three ships that, yes, they had ports canceled because of cases on board, less than 1%. They all got back into their home ports over the weekend. And guess what? They sailed again on the next cruise, right on schedule. One of the reports said, oh, they disembarked the passengers as quickly as they could. That wasn't the case. The ship got in at 6 a.m. like normal, and they started disembarking passengers at 8 and went on the normal schedule and started loading the ship for the next sailing at noon like they always do. It's because the protocols that are established between the cruise lines and the CDC are working. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and the mainstream media keeps screwing with all these stories and blowing it way out of proportion and not telling the whole story. They're giving the negative facts and nothing else. So, am I worried about the cruises I'm going on? Not in the least. I'm worried more about getting to the boat. But once I'm on the boat, no, I'll be perfectly safe. Feel perfectly safe. And even if there are outbreaks or cases on board, which there probably will be, there are on a lot of ships. As long as we have this variant that's so transmissible, you're going to see it everywhere. But the thing is it going to cause problems? Is it going to cause deaths? Is it going to cause a lot of deaths like as has happened in the past before the vaccine? No. So anyway, I'm fed up with the mainstream media. I really am, the way they're handling this again. So, and some of the people that are reporting it are even worse. They're blowing it way out of proportion, and they're supposed to be on the side of the cruise lines. Now, that all said, folks, there was a troubling report that's out there from Jewel of the Seas, and I believe this happened yesterday. After starting the day with 15 crew members and 5 guests testing positive, 10 additional crew members later tested positive, which brought the total number of infected people to more than 1% of the ship's population. The ship's population was, if I'm not mistaken on the numbers, 1,700 passengers, 800 crew, 2,500. 1% would be 25 cases. And with the 10 additional cases, it went over that. Many of the Caribbean islands will not permit cruise ships to stop in their ports if they have more than 1% of the total ship population in quarantine. There's that 1% again. It's been reported to Chillie's Cruises early this morning that Royal Caribbean transferred a number of the infected crew members from Jewel of the Seas. They scurried them over to Rhapsody of the Seas, which was at anchor off of St. Maarten, where the Jewel called yesterday. Now, I have not been able to get confirmation from Royal Caribbean, nor do we know what specifically was reported to the CDC concerning this. Did they report to the CDC that there's over 1% cases? Or did they get them off the boat so that brought the number under 1% and they could give a dishonest report? I don't know. I'm not making any accusations on that one, folks. I'm just telling you it was reported to me this morning on what happened. I don't know. So I want to say that Royal Caribbean handled it properly and that they reported it. I could see them, taking some of the infected people off and putting them on a ship that's not sailing right now and replacing them with healthy people so that they've got numbers so they could go back to the ports. I can understand that. It just depends on how they reported it. That's what I want to know. I want to know the bottom line. Did they handle it honestly? I hope so. And I think they did, as would be my thought. All right. And the other thing, which Elizabeth already mentioned this morning, after updating the vaccine policy, Cunard and P&O have become the first cruise lines requiring mandatory vaccines against COVID plus protection with the booster. And that is because of Omicron variant and how it's spreading throughout the globe. So this is the first time that boosters have been required. Like Jason said in the chat room, there's an awfully good chance that other cruise lines will be right behind them. I tend to think he's absolutely right on that one. All right, let's go back and see if I missed anything. If Carnival offers Jason a refund on February 12th, might take it and go to a resort instead. Cindy says, are you nervous, Jason? I know I am because of my back-to-back Royal Caribbean cruises. Folks, I'm not. I'm more nervous about the fact of the industry shutting down. And I don't see that happening. Don't think that I am making some dire projection. I do not see that happening because, again, the same thing that I've been saying for months now, the protocols as they were established are doing what they're supposed to do. So I don't see the CDC shutting down the cruise industry, and I don't see the cruise industry voluntarily doing it themselves. Just what is the way I read it. I read the tea leaves. Jason says, if I cannot get off the ship in Bonaire, I don't want to go. I know he's wanted to go to Bonaire for several cruises now. Cindy says, I can understand, Jason. My upcoming cruise is just Nassau and Coco Key. Glad we got to go to Aruba and Curacao in October on Horizon, pre-Omicron. Jason says, plus Carnival Freedom has a bullseye on it now. Yes, it does appear that way, Jason. So, Carnival Horizon has green status on the CDC site, but it's not sailing. Yeah, it's got green status because it's in dry dock. I don't know. Is that dry dock yet? I haven't heard anything. I don't think it's been repaired yet, but it might have been. Amy says my rant is right on. Well, yeah, thank you, Amy. I do appreciate that. These reporters will say anything for views. I know that's. I get so frustrated, and folks. And admittedly, if you've been around me long enough to know, I try to stay non-political as I can, but I certainly have leanings more toward the left than I do toward the right. But both sides are just awful on this. Both sides are just slaying the cruise industry. It'd be one thing if they were reporting factually, if they were reporting the whole story. I'd be right there with them, but they're not telling the whole story. They're not even telling half a story. They're just telling. It's just like the political crap. The left tells everything they want to tell about the right, and they don't tell it but halfway. The right tells everything they want to say against the left, but they don't tell the whole story. They only tell it halfway. I get sick of that all that crap all the time. Good Lord. Sharon's with us. Hey, Sharon, greetings from Hilton Head. Awesome. Glad you're down in Hilton Head, one of my favorite spots. Elizabeth says, I'm with you, Chillie. My friends and I are nervous about the industry. It's our livelihood. Most of us are out of all the money we've saved. I just spent $766 for new medical. Wow. Lucky I had the money. Yeah, well. Cindy says, I hope you're right, Sharon. Think all the holiday travel caused a spike. Maybe we'll start seeing an improvement in February. I missed what Sharon said. I had to go back and take a look. Sharon said, I have the Oasis of the Seas booked. Royal will let me cancel and take future cruise credit, only thinking of doing it because of possible missed ports. Truly believed in by March will be more normal. I hope so too. The signs, I mean, yeah, if you look at the numbers totally, right now it looks awful. But the signs are that, number one, this is not going to be as serious to the health and well-being of people, and hospitalizations are not going to go soaring. They're bad now because of the massive number of people, but percentage-wise, it's much better than it was before. And I think this thing could turn around relatively quickly too. I'm hoping. So we're just going to have to see. Cindy says, I hope you're right. Sharon, think of all the holiday travel caused the spike. Jack says, all my bags are packed. I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. Hate to wake up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking. It's early morn. Taxi's waiting. He's blowing his horn. That's good, Jack. That's fabulous. Jason says the real story is the people getting on the ship, not following the rules and getting off and complaining. Yeah, and there was one person that says that they're not going on another cruise ship again because the people weren't masking on the cruise she was on before it was required to mask. And I'm not mistaken, she said once they said that you had to mask, the people started masking, but she's still not going to go on another cruise because nobody was masking before it was required that you had to mask. That's again how the networks are blowing something out of proportion, and they keep repeating what she said over and over again without thinking of what she's saying. Yeah. Ugh. Imagine all of us crew who want to go back but can't afford it. Yeah, and that's something. Kenneth's with us out in Pennsylvania. He said good morning to everybody. Amy says, I worked for a newspaper for 38 years, and I can tell you that media today is totally biased and untrustworthy. They take a fact out of context and embroider it to meet their storyline. I know. And again, folks, I'm not saying this from a political standpoint. I'm saying both sides do the same. The Fox people do the same crap against the Biden people and the liberals and all that, and the left side media like CNN, MSNBC, they do the same thing. It's just ridiculous. None of them are using factual basis for any of their reporting anymore. It's mind-boggling. Again, I'm like Amy. We grew up in the world of media where you had to prove what you were saying. You had to prove it before you could use it. Wow. Jack's still singing. All my bags are packed. I'm ready to go. My daughter's waiting. She's blowing her horn. I can't wait to say goodbye. He's still singing. He's going to sing all the way to the boat. Kenneth says, I'm nervous about my cruise. Where'd he go? On Ruby Princess on February the 10th. I might have 15 days at sea instead of seeing Hawaiian Islands. It's a lot of days at sea. Yeah, well, that would be a bummer, especially going to Hawaii. But we'll have to wait and see on that one, Jack. But the signs that Amy got might be an indication of we're heading in the right direction. Sharon says my Royal Cruise January 23rd. They'll let me change. Excuse me, up to 48 hours. I'll wait a few weeks. The deal I got was $800 for a solo balcony. That's going to wrap me up, folks. Sorry about that dead space there, dead air for a couple seconds. I had muted myself. Thought I had gotten myself back on. All right, that's going to wrap me up. If you're new to this channel, we're here every day at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for travel and cruise industry news. If you're new to this channel, we always appreciate the thumbs up. If you're on the podcast side of things, this should be available on all your favorite spots. As of today, I hope that it's going to be propagated everywhere. All right, that's going to wrap me up for today. You guys have a fabulous day. I'll see everybody at 11 a.m. tomorrow. This is the old fat travel guy. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.